has a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. The recipe makes 1 dozen and calls for 2 1/3 cups of flour and 3/4 cups of sugar. She makes 2 dozen cookies. How much flour and sugar combined does she use? Okay, first let's figure out how much combined she uses for 1 dozen. And then we're gonna multiply it by 2 because this is a recipe for 1 dozen and she wants to double it, or she wants to make 2 dozen. So if it said 3 dozen, I would multiply by 3. If it said half a dozen, I would multiply by a half. Okay, so I have 2 1/3 cup, and since I know I'm gonna add that up, I'm gonna go ahead and make 2 1/3 an improper fraction, and so that would be 7/3 plus 3/4. The common denominator is going to be 12. So I get 28 twelfths plus 9 twelfths is 37 twelfths. And so 37 twelfths times 2 over 1. Why am I doing it by 2 over 1? Because I have to double this recipe. I'm multiplying by 2. So that gives me 74 twelfths. So I'm going to divide that out. And I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 12 go into 74? Well, I know 6 times 12 is 72. So I know it's going to be 6 and something, so it can't be A or B. There's 2 left over. So I know it's 6 and 2 twelfths. And you don't see that answer there. Don't just guess. This reduces. That reduces to 1/6. So the answer is D. Says a school had a fundraiser. The table below shows the amount of students in a class raised. It should say that a class raised. So there's our table and all of our numbers: Trey, Kimberly, Daniel, Julio, Jennifer. If the teacher wants to find the mean is a fancy word for average, of the amount raised, which process would she use? Well, let's talk about it. To find the average or the mean, we add all these up and we divide by however many we have. So I'm going to add, and then I'm going to divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to divide by 5. All right. Divide the product means multiply, of the amounts raised by 5. No, I'm not multiplying anything. Divide the quotient means divide. Divide the quotient of the amount raised by 5. So I'm dividing the division of them? No. Multiply the difference? No, we're not doing difference and we're not multiplying. Divide the sum of the amount raised by the product of 5. Oh, that shouldn't say product. The correct answer should be D, but it should not say product. It should say divide the sum of the amount raised by 5. Tickets to an Astros baseball game in a certain section are $49.99 plus 8.25% sales tax. Trina buys 3 tickets. How much does Trina pay including tax? First I want to figure out how much she pays before tax for 3 tickets. So I multiply the $49.99 by 3, and notice that I have 2 decimal places because there's 2 decimals here. And so before tax, it's $149.97. And to find the tax, I move my decimal of my percent 2 places to the left. I'm going to multiply that out and figure out the tax, and then I'm going to add it back to the total amount. Before I even find the tax, I know that this $149.97 is out because that is the total before tax. $12.37 doesn't even make sense. 1 ticket costs more than that. And $54.11 doesn't make sense either because 1 ticket is $49.99, and I know I'm paying 3 tickets. So I pretty much can do this without finding the tax if I use common sense. So now I'm going to take this $12.37 and add it to my $149.97 because my tax is $12.37. And I get $162. It should be 34 cents, not 44. So the correct answer is B. Number 10 says, Miss Diaz is making welcome cards for each of her students. She has 51 regular math students and 25 advanced math students. The welcome cards come in a box of 12 for $3.25. How much will Miss Diaz have to spend on the welcome cards? Well, let's talk about this. We need to figure out how many students she's making welcome cards for. So we'll add the number of students together, the 51 plus the 25. She has 76 students that she's gonna write welcome cards for. And a box, I need to figure out how many boxes she needs to buy. So I'm gonna divide 12 into 76, and I wanna make sure that I have enough for all of her students. Well, 12 goes into 76 6 times, but that only gives me 72 cards. So that means she's gonna have to buy 7 boxes. 6 boxes will only get her 72. She's gonna have some left over, but that's fine. So we're gonna buy 7 boxes, and each box is $3.25. So 7 times 325. 7 boxes for $3.25 is $22.75. So the correct answer is A. Cameron had an annual gross income of $26,350. He used the table below to figure his federal withholding tax. If he paid $4,252, how much did he overpay in federal withholding tax? The first thing I need to do is I need to figure out how much he should have paid. So with $26,350, I see it here and I see it here. So let's see what it says. But less than $26,350. No, he made exactly $26,350. So it's not the less than. At least. That means he has to make at least this much, but it can equal this much. And so he should pay 14% tax. So now I'm going to calculate what 14% of $26,200 is. I do that by moving my decimal place 2 places and multiplying. So 14% came out to be $3,589, but he paid the government $4,252. So I need to subtract the amount the government wants from the amount that was paid in. I got $663. I'm not sure if I did my math wrong here, or if this answer is the answer it's supposed to be. I'm assuming the correct answer is D.